Sí, sí. Ya va a llegar al 100 de calor. Good thing we're here. It's cool in here.
It is.
We're
Yeah.
blessed. We're blessed.
See if I can still tag. Okay. Okay. Yeah, she's on. There we go. All right. No, cancel. Okay.
Pause recording.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Ya van a componer la calle.
So
ahí
the
donde
slides are
vive.
gonna be up on the screen.
Tony.
I'm sorry. What happened?
They're fixing. They're gonna fix that road where Tony lives.
Oh, really?
They're gonna start on the first.
That one that has
Franklin?
all the holes. Oh yeah, Franklin. Yeah, that's the one.
Where he lives.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's gonna
that's
be great.
very bad. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and begin our study. We're on part 3
Recording.
on a series of studies that we've been looking.
Part 3.
Yes, part 3. How to rebuke devils, and the sum from what we've been able to see is that it has much to do with the term that's called, Danny, spiritualism, and the one that's making all the moves is the leader of the fallen angels, Satan. And so what we're seeing is that there's a warfare between God's angels and
The good
Satan's.
angels.
Yeah, good and bad. They have been uh, doing this ever since the fall. Satan was the one that caused the fall of our first parents, and from that point on, it's been a continual back and forth battle, yes, between good and evil. And so this is all happening behind the scenes. These are things that take place where the human eye isn't able to see it, but God is telling us exactly what is it that's happening when these things do happen, and why. And so we're to be aware. We're supposed to be able to know the instructions, what to do about it, how to go about it. And that's why we saw when it came to Jesus rebuking the spirits, there were different things that we found in the Word of God on how He was able to do it. Those things are available to us. But in this particular study, we're gonna look at it from a prophetic view, which means is we're gonna go into the prophecy and see how this actually plays out at the end of time, right before Jesus comes. Because if we think the deceptions that we're seeing today are big, it's not really even half of what we're going to be able to see if we're alive at that time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go forward. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 16, verses 13 through 14. Revelation 16, 13 through 14 says this. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. And so the first thing we see is that there's unclean spirits, right? And we already studied this. These are the fallen angels, right? We already know this by what we've studied, but it says that these spirits are coming out in this manner, as frogs. Not that they are frogs, but they're coming out in the manner of frogs, as you can see on the screen for those of us. But you can imagine it, Tomas. It's not that big of a thing. It's just 3 frogs coming out of the mouth of these 3 entities: the dragon, the beast, and then the false prophet. Now we're going to look at what this is in order for us to go through the Bible and find out. It's a whole Bible study within itself, but we'll find out what it is today. And then when we do get into the actual prophecy studies, we'll be able to get to how the Bible actually lets us know what these symbols are. We already know that they're symbols because we're seeing heavy symbology, which means we're looking at a beast, right? And dragon and the prophet, and out of their mouth, this is not something natural, right? Because these 3 spirit-like frogs are coming out of the mouth, so a lot of symbology going on, right? So, and then it continues to say, for they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth to the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. And so we see that we talked about that there's a battle going on, right? And so this warfare that's going on is going to boil down to one great battle right before Jesus comes.
Is that the Battle of Armageddon?
That's the Battle of Armageddon, right? It's a literal battle. It's not symbolic. It's an actual battle that happens right before Jesus comes, and there will be a warfare, kind of like World War One, World War Two.
And
It's going to be the final battle.
It's already getting organizing. Like, look at what's happening when China, Russia, they're all right now.
There's some agitation going on, yeah.
The U.S. también right now with China again right now.
Yeah. Yes. So we can expect a little battle. Actually, Daniel 11 tells us all about it, with the final verses or final verse of Daniel 11. But that's a whole different subject. We don't want to get into those aspects just yet. We're looking at the battle or spiritual battles between good and evil. And so we see that out of the mouth of these 3 entities, these spirits in the form of frogs are going out, and they go out to the whole world. They're spirits of devils working what? Miracles. Wow. So just like Jesus did miracles, these spirits are also doing miracles.
But it's happening right now. It's been happening, right? Or is this something that's gonna even?
It's gonna intensify. It's gonna intensify.
We're already getting like the como dicen las little drops of it, because
you could say little drops. You could say sprinkling. Yeah.
Because you can see miracles. We see them in the other.
Whether it's UFOs, whether it's sightings, whether it's paranormal activity.
Right, like people getting healed in churches.
Oh yeah.
Or getting healed, that's also been going on.
That's what I mean.
That's been going on.
But being healed is that the
counterfeit?
That's a counterfeit? Right?
That's a counterfeit. Yeah.
Just a deception.
It's a deception. That's correct. But this particular verse right here is referring to a time right before Jesus comes. So the deceptions that are gonna happen once this verse comes to completion, by that time it's gonna be too late
Okay.
because probation has closed, right? But we do see that these things are going on. But by the time these deceptions, the ones that are being mentioned here, is gonna be the strongest delusion that has ever been seen, and we're gonna see why. But just pay attention, okay? Let's go ahead and go forward. We're gonna look at what Daniel in the Revelation. This is Smith. Uriah Smith wrote this. He said this is a pioneer. The Adventist Church says the sources from which these spirits issue denote that they will work among three great religious divisions of mankind, represented by the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. And here it says paganism, and we know paganism is spiritualism, right?
Okay.
Witchcraft, all of that. That's what that dragon represents. And then it says Catholicism, that's the beast, and Protestantism,
Wow.
that's United States. That's this great country. Because that's
the religion.
that's
from
the
this
religion.
country.
Yes. Now we're gonna, like I said, we're not gonna get into the fine details of that right now, because it's a whole study. That's a whole study right there. But for now, you could write this down, take notes, and then we'll, once we get into the actual study of these prophecies, we'll be able to see this. Okay, so this is what Albert Barnes has to say about this verse. We may suppose, however, that these spirits referred to would be characterized by pride, arrogance, impudence, assumption of authority, perhaps impurity and vileness. For all these ideas enter the meaning of the symbol, which is the frogs. Okay? They are not here probably symbols of persons, but of influences or opinions which would be spread abroad, which would characterize the age referred to, which is right before Jesus comes. The references to what the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet would do at that time in opposing the truth and in preparing the world for the great and final conflict. Okay, so these spirits, they go into the whole world to prepare them for this last battle, right? And those are the characteristics referred to as in the frogs. Using the frog because of the pride, impurity, vileness, imprudence. I mean, these are all things that we'll see among those miracles that are done through those entities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this battle is a totally different battle than what we're used to seeing. Like,
Right.
Like right now that we're seeing weapons on.
Right.
We're talking about this is a spiritual battle.
This is a spiritual battle right here.
We're going. I know where it's going into.
But it culminates all into one last final battle, which is,
was the Sunday law.
yes,
Because that's where it's going to be the
exactly. That's where the weapons and all of the killings and all of that takes place. But it's prepared. The spiritual battle is what prepares for that. Does that make sense? Okay, let's continue.
especially with the miracles, because people are going to believe in it because of the miracles.
The miracles are gonna be the
The biggest deception.
The evidence
Mhm.
that they're gonna have
Mhm.
that they're right,
right.
because they already happened. Huh?
But-
It happened in Sister White's time, no?
Yes, it did. But what is our evidence? The Bible, the Word,
My word.
right? Their evidence is gonna be, oh, I could see it
Yeah.
and I believe it. That's not ours.
No, that's,
We don't.
That's
We
gonna be
don't.
the evidence that they're gonna use to
To
Right.
deceive, to
to
deception.
seduce the
Do you rem-
government, to have the government on their side.
Exactly. Do you remember when they were persecuting Christ? The Pharisees?
Mhm.
What did they ask for?
The pilot.
Signs.
Oh, what's that?
Signs and wonders. They wanted to see him do great
Oh,
miracles.
yes,
They
yes.
wanted it even at the cross. I think
Uh-huh.
somebody mentioned it. What was it? Wednesday or no Thursday? Even on the cross, they were asking him,
To.
"Yeah, just get down off of that cross,
Uh-huh.
and that'll be enough for us to believe."
Mhm.
See, what do they want to see? Miracles.
Right.
And so at the end of time, that same spirit is going to ask for miracles. And they're going to get it.
Mhm.
But what they don't know is that it's not God.
Mhm.
It's not God doing the miracle. It's actually the fallen angels.
Yes.
It's actually Satan doing that. And we're going to prove that in this study. You're going to see that Satan does have power to do these things for various reasons. Not just to do a miracle, just to cause destruction. That's who he is. We looked at that in our past studies, right? We saw the character of God: love, peace, joy. We saw that he doesn't lie, cheat, destroy. That's not who God is. But does God allow Satan to do those other things? Yes. God does allow those things, and we're going to see why. There's different reasons for it. Whether it's let's just keep going. Let's look at this. So number one, we see unclean spirits, just like we did in Christ's day, right? Unclean spirits, we know what they are, we know who they are, we know how they work. Number two, pointing to the future under the sixth and set of the seven last plagues. So this is the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet.
Mhm.
All are referring, this event right here is referring to a time once those plagues start falling.
Mhm.
That's, I mean, we're talking about the very almost last plague, because this isn't the first plague, this is the sixth of the seven. And so this is going to be one of the very last things that he does right before Jesus comes, is this great deception. What is that deception? We'll see that here momentarily. And so we see that this is a frightening scene, right? But once again, this is all symbolic. Number four, heavily symbolic figures with literal characteristics. I'm gonna move your hat over here, brother.
Oh, sorry.
Dropped it. No, you're fine. Okay. So the literal characteristics are what we saw: pride, envy, all of the vileness of the frogs. They're literal. However, verse 14 gives us the direct interpretation. The frog-like unclean spirits are the spirits of devils working miracles, and their mission is to go to the influential men or kings of the earth, for they are of royal status, and the devils have no barriers nor limits, as the whole world is to receive a visit one way or another. The miracles here mentioned are above and beyond what many of us have ever witnessed. Under the sixth plague, a strong delusion will be witnessed by all the inhabitants of the earth. Okay, so with this we have a similar story. Okay, so just keep in mind those different things that we've seen, right? These spirits are to go where? To the whole
World.
to the whole, all the earth. There's not one place in the earth that they will not be. If there's people there, they're gonna go there. Okay, and so let's continue. And so in the book of Job, chapter 1, 6 through 12, starting at verse 6, says, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also among them." And so there was a meeting, right? That meeting took place, Job capítulo 1, 6 al 12. So at that meeting, Satan showed up. Why?
It happened already. It's going to happen.
No, it happened.
Okay.
This is way back,
Okay.
way back. But after the fall of Adam, of course.
Okay.
Okay, so after Adam fell, Satan took Adam's place
Oh, we talked about that.
as the
We-
representative or governor
we had
of
that.
earth.
We had that lesson.
Uh-huh. This was why Satan came also among them.
Okay. Now I
Okay.
got you.
And so there's a conversation that takes place hereafter. Verse 7, the Lord said unto Satan, whence camest thou? Then Satan answered, or in other words, where are you coming from? And then the Lord said, or Satan said to the Lord, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And so what's Satan's mission field?
What is this? What's that?
His mission field. Where does he work?
He works in earth.
On earth. Satan's mission field is the whole earth, the entirety of the earth, right?
Mhm.
Did we not see in Revelation chapter 16 that the spirits would go where? To the whole earth.
Mhm.
And so here we see it again. Satan and his mission field is the whole earth. Job, the righteous, is mentioned here in verse 8. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Alright, so what does that mean? Let's take a look at the next explanation. Job was one of a kind in his time, an exemplary in every sense of the word. He was worthy of mention. That means God took the time to mention to Job, right?
Mhm.
Or to Satan
Mhm.
about Job. Typical of the Son of God, Job, a perfect man in that he was righteous or upright and had a clear understanding of the one true God. He feared God, and that fear God, this is given in a positive way.
Mhm.
Okay, this doesn't mean that he's like afraid of him.
Mhm.
This means that he knows who God is
Okay.
and respects God
There you go.
and does what God says. He's loyal to God. And so he was also a man who rejects all form of evil. That's what escheweth.
Oh, for evil and
Chew it.
sin.
Uh-huh. All forms of evil and sin. Okay. So Satan responds to God and says, well, he's obeying you out of interest. Notice what it says in verse 9 through 12. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for naught? That's what that means, out of interest. Has not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? That's why we put that angel there, because he's like Psalm says, right? He says that the angel of the Lord encampeth about those that fear him. Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the whole land. So he was very rich or wealthy. Blessed. That's what that means there. Okay. And so this is what Satan responded. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Okay? And so
Just don't touch him.
just don't take his life is
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else,
Mm-hmm.
like his money, his
Mhm.
family,
Yeah.
his
That's what he did.
everything was gonna get taken from
Mhm.
him, right?
Mhm.
And so this was Job's test. It's a trial.
Mhm.
And so notice what 1 Corinthians says, 10:13. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. And so God allows us to be tempted. That's the same test that Adam had. We are all to be tempted, tested, to be fitted for heaven.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with God doing that, right?
Okay.
Okay, so here we see God is testing his faith.
I think he just, instead of testing his faith, I think he's proving Satan that he is.
He
faithful.
knew. I believe he did know.
Yeah.
He knew that his faith was strong enough, but it needed to be seen, right?
Yeah, it needed to just.
It needed to be.
Be
It needed to
tested,
play out.
tested.
Yeah.
It's another way to say it.
Yeah, because God already knew exactly that.
That he was going to be faithful.
Yeah.
Because he rejected evil. He knew who God was. He feared God.
And
He was loyal.
Yeah,
And so those traits, because of those traits, God knew that he would be strong when the time came. He knew his heart. He knew everything about Job. His character was fit for
Él
heaven.
sabía que si la prueba que tuvo Adán y Eva pues, no era nada para Job.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
tiene que ser algo
No, it had to be more than that. And I mean, this is just.
más para comprobar.
This was just the first series of temptations. We still have the one that happens in chapter 2, but let's take a look and look at the different things that Satan caused to happen to Job in order to test his faith. So in verse 15, the Sabaeans took away his servants and they were executed. Verse 16, fire fell down from heaven and consumed the farm animals. This is his economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
His way of living. Burned his animals. And then the Chaldeans in verse 17 took the camels and executed more servants. Verses 18 and 19, sons and daughters die in a natural disaster. Okay. And then Job sinned not. Though that wave of temptations that came his way, regardless of those things, he didn't sin, right? Okay, and then we have in chapter 2, I want to make sure I don't miss anything here. Yeah, chapter 2 of Job. Satan assumes that this was not enough and that his health should be enough to make him sin. And then in verse 7, the boils begin to fill his body from head to toe. Job's wife loses her patience and tempts Job to curse God and die. Job rebukes her for her foolishness and does not sin with his lips, which means he didn't get angry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't become self-righteous. He was able to keep his calm,
Cool.
his cool.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
that's another way to say it. So we see that Job doesn't sin, regardless of all of these things. Now we got to think about that, huh? Because we
Wow. We're weak compared.
are
We're
weak. He was fit for heaven, and this is what's gonna take.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's gonna take to be in heaven. This is the character that we must have.
Yeah.
That regardless of whatever happens, you gotta be ready.
Faithful.
I think Satan was still lying to all the angels and telling them that it wasn't gonna work. That humankind was never gonna be able to be fit for heaven.
That's the whole point of this.
And this was to show that even the angels too.
Uh-huh.
The angels were gonna see that
The good ones.
that God's plan with humankind. You know that there is.
I believe you're right on point, because remember in Revelation we read that he was able to go up there and annoy them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was he saying to them? Oh, they're never gonna obey you.
Yeah.
They're never gonna want to,
And the angels up there is like, wait a minute, probably not. Look at Adam and Eve, and look at all the rest.
Right.
But then the Lord said, okay, go watch. You guys are gonna see.
Did you notice Job? That's exactly what happened.
That's not just
That's
to
what I
show,
believe.
to show Satan, you know.
Right.
He's not gonna go. He wasn't gonna let his son go through all that just for Satan.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the family,
No. This was to show him
for the
and
angels,
us
for everybody,
For everybody.
us, angels,
that it is possible.
and
That it is
the other
possible.
fallen, the worlds that never fell.
That never fell. Correct.
They all got.
They were able to see it.
They were able to see it.
Okay. Satan used men, right? He used men, the Sabaeans. They're actually the Arabian, from those from the east. Satan used them. Natural disasters, disease, to inflict so much mental distress upon Job that he might cause him to sin. Despite all, Job did not sin. And so we're also going to take note that in one of those natural disasters, what happened? That Satan caused fire to come down from heaven.
Wow.
So this had nothing to do with deceiving. It had to do with inflicting Job,
Wow.
causing him to get frustrated, causing him to lose his faith, to give up hope.
Or trying to.
Because, I mean, a lot of us, when these things happen, we think, oh, what did I do wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
I must have did something wrong. I must have did, it's because I, went to the wrong place or said the wrong thing to so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
But Job never did any of those things. And for these things to happen, I mean, his friends actually thought that's what it was, that he had sinned, that he had done something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all just to show the worlds, the angels, everyone, and for us, that this is possible.
Wow.
It is possible.
He went through.
Because a lot of the times, and I know in the past I've done it, I say, well, how is this going to be possible? I mean, Jesus was able to do it, but he's the Son of God. And then
That's why this
I believe so.
That's why we have this one también. No excuse.
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. Que
'Cause he
no, es
wasn't.
porque era el hijo de Dios, tenía poder.
Right.
Entonces dice, no, es que
Even though he didn't use his
the
power.
evangelical world usan eso y nosotros nos enseñaban eso en la iglesia cuando íbamos. Hasta hay cantos. Que hay una canción que dice, ¿cómo dice? Satanás es muy astuto. ¿Cómo dijo? Pero a Cristo no pudiste engañarlo porque era Dios.
Right. So,
O sea, nosotros
Here-
no nos pudo engañar, pero a que según el Señor no, porque era Dios.
Right.
Eso es falso, ¿no?
no, porque Jesús igual tuvo que aprender. Tuvo que, igual, así como Job, así como Enoch, así como Elías, así como todos los demás que ya llegan al cielo con él.
Tuvo que depender de Dios.
Tuvieron que depender de Dios, ¿verdad? Pero aquí vemos a Job, un hombre que no sabemos si ya fue al cielo. We don't know if he's in heaven yet or not. Bible doesn't say. However, he was faithful all the way. He was faithful.
And he was.
There was nothing.
And who was his descendant? Who was his dad? And
I'm sorry?
who was his dad? Hope.
Job?
No. Yeah. Oh, it's in the Bible anyway. I read it, but it's so much.
You're
names
talking
in
about
it.
Job?
No, the one you just mentioned. The one that you said we don't know if it's him or not.
I think it was Job, the one that I said that
Oh,
we don't know
okay.
if he's in heaven or.
Oh, okay. I got you.
That's the one. But anyway, and the Bible doesn't say. It starts out Job chapter 1, and it doesn't say his lineage or anything.
Okay.
Because we know that the Lord, that when crucifixion, that people are in heaven.
Yeah, there was, but we don't know who they are.
We don't know who.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's
Luego se subieron las tumbas.
Ajá.
Y ahí se llevó
possibly is there.
un
We
grupo.
could be.
Un grupo.
Mhm. Okay, so we're taking note from this. We're taking the fact that he's able to inflict with disease, right? He's able to cause natural disasters.
le echamos la culpa a Dios, como a veces cuando venimos estos climas duros que están pasando a veces, le echamos la culpa a Dios.
Yeah, but no.
No podemos estar seguros
No, but it's not.
Well,
que lo permita Dios.
That's why they blame him. That's why they blame him, because he permits it. But we're in a world of sin. We have the enemies on the loose. You know, I mean, he's not gonna just sit back and just let everybody live peacefully. We're not in heaven. This is just a temporal place that we are to live, learn about God, and how to obey Him, how to love Him, how to have a relationship with Him. That's why we're here. That's God. I mean, God wanted this to be heaven, but what happened? Those plans failed when Adam and Eve fell. They fell through. But there's still hope, right? Job he didn't see Jesus die. He didn't know, but he knew that He existed. He had faith in God and His Son, that was gonna happen. I believe he knew that, and that's why he was able to stay loyal, because he had that relationship with Him. Okay, and so sickness, natural disasters, the fire coming down from heaven, these are all things that Satan is able to do, God permitting him to do it for whatever reason it may be, but God does allow it.
And then when you read on Job, when you read on it, it got more in detail of what all these things that was happening to me and to him. He explained it right there on the Bible. Was explained. That's a lot of things that were going on, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a whole lot. I mean, his wife even said, "Just give up, curse God and die," because he was so sick. He was in a very bad condition.
When we knew he had surpassed all those temptations to that when he was when he was victorious about all that, is when and it was a time when you realized it, when the dog licked on him from all the sores.
Yeah.
Right. And you knew that, okay, he's gonna get better. You know.
Yeah.
Don't you think right after that?
Well, he had faith.
Yeah, faith,
regardless of whatever happened, he never lost his faith.
Right, faith is amazing,
and
that's what we all need.
And that's what we all need. We need that strong faith in order to endure those trials. These are the trials that are gonna make us or break us. We're gonna be loyal all the way until we die, or once that persecution comes, we wither away like that, like the plant that's on sand. We wither away. So you gotta have strong faith. You gotta be built on that rock.
I think the way we can get strength is by reading the Bible. But when these things
faith
happen,
cometh by hearing, and hearing of the word of God.
Yeah.
Okay. So Revelation chapter 13, verses 13 and 14, talk about that false prophet or second beast also. Okay. Here it is on the screen. It says Revelation 13, verses 13 and 14. And he doeth great wonders. This is the second beast, the false prophet. So that he maketh what? Fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And so part of that is going to be prophecy. We're not going to get into it, but the main point here is that he caused what? Fire to come down.
That was the miracle
from heaven. Turn it over one more time.
That was the miracle, right? That he caused.
That must be 30 minutes.
That would be another real deep question.
Yeah, it's a deep study.
Because fire, you remember how fire, the day of Pentecostal, which was fire? Was the power of God.
That was in the form of what was this called? In the form of
light. No, it was light.
Just take a look at it real quick. cloven tongues. That's what it is. Now, now that we see this, uh, let's go into our next story. So, just like we saw that there would be the beast and the image, we see two powers uniting, the first beast and the second beast, and they both make an image, right? And so here in this story we see two kings. At this time the kingdoms were broken up into two camps: the southern kingdom, Judah, and the northern kingdom, that's Israel, right? And so we see these two kings coming together. Notice 2 Chronicles chapter 18, 3-4. And Ahab, king of Israel, said to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, "Wilt thou go with me to Ramoth Gilead?" And he answered him, "I am as thou art, and my people as thy people, and we will be with thee in war," or in the war. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, "Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord today." And so they're coming together in order for them to win a battle, right? This is a physical battle that's taking place. But in order for them to go forward, Jehoshaphat is the one that has the right idea, right?
Yeah, he's the one the most faithful, and he was the one that didn't give up on even though all this other his other fathers and all that were real evil and stuff, So he was saying no, even though God was already punishing people, not punishing, but for breaking the covenant. He said, "You know what? We still can do this. We can still win this war."
And so here he's asking that they would bring a prophet, so that they could ask the prophet, "Give us the instructions. Should we go to war or not?" Right?
Okay.
Notice what it says, verse 5. "Therefore the king of Israel gathered together of prophets 400 men, and said unto them, Shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear?" Forbear means or not go. And they said, "Go up, for God will deliver it into the king's hand." Okay? So 400 of these prophets. Now remember, they're of the northern kingdom. These prophets, they belong to the apostate king, Ahab.
Can you define the prophet? Is that men or war or men of warriors, or is that prophets like?
Prophets are
They're not warriors, right?
no, prophets can tell the future.
Okay.
God gives them visions and dreams,
Okay.
and this,
So those were from the king of Israel.
they're from the king of Israel.
Right.
400 of them. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about Ahab, and everybody that knows Ahab married Jezebel. Jezebel was a witch. She was on the wrong side, right? And so these prophets must be false prophets,
Right.
Right.
That's what I want to get at.
Right. Okay. So,
See, because when you define that right now I understand it. Because I was like, prophets. I mean, prophets seem like it would be positive things, but these are negative. These are.
it's a counterfeiting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Counterfeit.
I got you. Thank you.
Okay. Good. And so, notice what Jehoshaphat says.
So they got their prophet too.
Right. Notice what Jehoshaphat said. Jehoshaphat said, "Is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides the 400, that we might inquire of him?" And so he
On
knew.
their side, on the Judah side of
Yeah,
the
the good.
Actually,
the good.
no. The prophet that they find is not in Judah. Notice. Micaiah. He was a despised prophet. Notice. And the king said, the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, "There is yet one man by whom we may inquire of the Lord, but I hate him." This is Ahab. For he never prophesied good unto me, but always evil. The same is Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And Jehoshaphat said, "Let not the king say so."
Oh, okay.
Because,
He said not true.
yeah, well,
wait a minute.
yeah, some
Some
doesn't
not
sound
right.
right.
Some not right. Yeah. Okay.
And so they get Micaiah, bring him in. Notice what Micaiah's oath is. Okay. And Micaiah said, "As the Lord liveth, even what my God saith that I will speak." Okay. So whatever God says, this is faithful. Right.
Yeah.
The big difference between the other prophets.
And it's only one out of 400.
But notice what he says. And when he was come to the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And he said, Go ye up and prosper, and they shall be delivered into your hand. Now,
Is that the same answer?
yes, but we're not done here. We're not done here, so you got to pay a close attention.
Okay.
See, verse 15. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou say nothing but the truth to me in the name of the Lord? And so he knew something was wrong. Like, why are you're saying the same thing as the 400? He's not. This wasn't normal of him. So he knew, Ahab knew something was going on. Okay, so let's keep reading. Verses 16 through 22, the same chapter. Then he said, I did see, after Ahab told him that, like, stop lying. Then he said,
Don't tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah, don't tell me what I want to hear. I did see all Israel scattered upon the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. In other words, that on that mountain where they were going to go to battle, that Ahab, Jehoshaphat, they're gone. So what do you have left? Just nothing but sheep. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return, therefore, every man to his house in peace. And so Ahab he knew what was being said. And he said, The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would not prophesy good unto me, but evil? See? And he wasn't done. And again he said, Therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne. This is a vision. Okay? And all the hosts of heaven standing on his right and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall entice, or what's another word for that? Lie, deceive, trap them, right? Who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one spake after this manner, and another spake after that manner. Then came out a spirit, okay, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go out and be a what? A lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. And the Lord said, Thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so. Now, therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of these prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil against thee. See, so he told them the truth. He told them exactly what was taking place.
Who told them the truth?
This is Micah.
Okay.
Micah,
the only one that
Micaiah.
The only one out of the 400.
The
right?
one out of the 400.
Okay.
The one that Ahab hated.
Okay.
So they didn't want to hear him, so the Lord said, okay,
They want lying.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lying spirit.
It was a lying spirit.
That said, I'll go.
What was it? An angel of God? No, this was.
The Lord permitted it, huh?
The Lord permitted it.
So that's what's confusing.
The Lord permitted it, and we're gonna see it again. This is actually what happens.
Okay.
Why did God allow that to happen? Because Ahab was in apostasy, and so God was taking him out. How was he taking him out? By sending him this deceiving spirit, a deception,
Okay.
so that he could go forward to that battle and die.
Wow.
But he first gave him,
Oh, he gave him plenty of chances.
especially with that last message.
Hmm I mean, that would have been enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he's telling the truth. He should have known that. But because he was prideful, because he didn't believe in the message, so he decided to go forward. And he did die. But
And that's what was the main, that was the that was meant to be for it was just what God wanted, right?
Mhm.
Well,
As-
it was like, no,
God wanted him to repent,
Yeah.
but because he didn't repent,
Uh-huh.
God said, I have to send him a deception
Okay.
so that he can go, and he was deceived.
Okay.
God gave him the message. He told him, look, if you go, you're gonna die,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But because they didn't believe, because he didn't believe in the real prophet,
Mm-hmm.
he ended up becoming deceived.
Wow. Out of the 400, just like the 400,
The 400 were already deceived
Right.
because
Mhm.
because
that were his
God
his,
sent that lying spirit to them so they could all agree
Mhm.
that he should go, right?
Okay.
But Micah says, or Micaiah says the same thing, but he gives them the explanation of what he saw, of what God was planning to do.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And then when God found a spirit that was willing to deceive him, and that's the fallen spirit. It's not an angel of God. God,
Okay.
his angels don't lie
Okay.
or have anything to do with that.
Okay.
It's never gonna be a good angel doing something bad.
Okay.
That's
That's-
see what I'm saying. He has those other angels, just like when Jesus cast them out, they obey his voice, right?
Yeah.
And so likewise, just like when he cast them into the swine,
The swine.
right
into the
here,
ocean of
right
sea
here
or
is
whatever.
the same thing. God is using a fallen angel to go deceive a person that is set in his ways against him.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
We got to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
here,
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matthew 24, verse 24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, inasmuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Now, if it were possible, but it's not. It's not. Why? Because they have that character that Job has.
Okay.
Just like Job wasn't able to fold, right?
And could you reread that before? Can you reread it?
What the
What you just said earlier before you mentioned Job? The line or two before.
I just read Matthew 24:24.
Okay.
For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I mean that
But they couldn't do that to Job.
it's going to be a strong delusion, and I believe Jesus here is talking about that same thing that the Revelation talks about, a fire coming down from heaven. And then Revelation 16, the three spirits, the strong delusion under the sixth plague. Okay? Yeah, but by that time, probation has closed. There's once you're sealed, once you have that character like Job, you're not gonna fold. You're not gonna fold. But notice, let's continue to look at this. Paul also mentioning that same event says, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. That's what happened to Ahab. He had not love for the truth. And when the truth came to him, did he accept it? No. And for this cause, God shall send them what? Strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And so here we see the two great themes at the end of time: truth, those that love the truth, those that obey the truth, and those that love unrighteousness, that's wrongdoing, that's not obeying, those that love deceit, those that are going to be in a strong delusion. They're going to be deceived. And so the spirit of truth, the spirit of error, those two things are basically what we're going to see all the way through.
Okay.
All the way through. Whether it's going to be a miracle, whether it's going to be someone being healed. Because there's many ways to heal, right?
Okay.
We know that. But if we're using methods that are having to do with spiritualism,
Yeah,
have to
witchcraft
do
and
with
stuff, yeah.
witchcraft and meditating and them having to hypnotize you and stuff like that.
Mhm.
All of these things come from where?
Yeah. Evil.
From the devil, from Satan.
Evil. They come from demons.
And so you got to make sure that you're using God's methods, right? Okay.
Amen.
And so Ezekiel 14:9 lets us know what happens to these false prophets. 14:9, Ezekiel says, "And if the prophet be deceived when he hath spoken a thing, I, the Lord, have deceived that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand upon him, and I will destroy him from the midst of my people Israel." Okay? So he's saying, he's taking the credit for that deception, right? He's saying, I'm the one. We saw how this played out.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit was willing, the fallen angel was willing to go and do his work. God said, go and do it, right? And so he sends them a strong delusion. He sends them that spirit of deception so that he can be lost, because this is his character. This is what he has chosen to do.
Okay, gotcha.
And so God can only do so much for us.
Yes.
You know, and once we're set in our ways, then we're done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's a choice that we make every day
Every day.
to love God and keep his commandments.
Amen.
Okay. This we also see in Revelation 19:20. And the beast was taken. This is the first beast of Revelation 13. And with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. Okay, and so this is how God plans to destroy all deception with the author as well. It's not here in this verse, but we'll look into that in another time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do we need?
Faith.
We need, of course, faith, but in what? Here's a clue. Here's a clue.
Yes.
And hopefully my battery doesn't die on me. It's almost done. I forgot my charger. Okay, and if it does, we'll just have to pick up wherever we leave off next Sabbath. Next Sabbath. Okay, but we're almost done. So, what's the screen say? Passover. Does everybody know what Passover means? How about that? Does everybody know what that is?
Passover.
It's Passover, but what?
What she mentioned right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, well, the meekness tells you right there, pass over. Something that passes over.
Something that passes over, exactly.
So,
Okay, so but when did this happen?
it's in Egypt.
In Egypt, correct.